Emily's heart skipped a beat as she opened the elegant wedding invitation and saw Jack's name on the guest list. Memories of their passionate love and painful divorce surged back, leaving her torn. Should she face her ex-husband after 5 years? Despite her stable new life, Emily yearned for closure. As the wedding day approached, anxiety bubbled, but she resolved to attend, steeling herself for the encounter. The picturesque venue and familiar faces couldn't distract her from Jack's presence. Their dance and raw conversations that night brought healing, understanding, and a peaceful resolution, allowing Emily to embrace a hopeful new beginning. Hello my friends, I hope all you are fine. This is Narrative Stories channel. Let's start this story. Emily stood at her kitchen counter, absently sipping her morning coffee, when she noticed an elegant cream-colored envelope. Among her usual pile of bills and junk mail, the handwriting on the envelope was unmistakably Sarah's, her college roommate, and one of her oldest friends. Emily's curiosity piqued as she carefully opened the envelope and pulled out an intricately designed wedding invitation. As she read the details, her eyes widened in surprise and apprehension. The invitation was for Sarah's wedding, a joyous occasion to be sure, but her heart sank when she saw Jack's name on the guest list. Jack, her ex-husband, the man she had once envisioned spending her entire life with, would be there too. Mixed emotions surged through Emily. Memories of their passionate love, their wedding day, and the eventual unraveling of their marriage flooded her mind. It had been 5 years since their painful divorce, and although time had dulled the sharp edges of her grief, the thought of seeing Jack again stirred a pot of emotions she had long tried to suppress. She placed the invitation back on the counter, taking a deep breath. Should she attend? The idea of facing Jack after all these years was daunting, yet something inside her whispered that this might be the closure she needed. She decided to give herself time to reflect before making a decision. For days, Emily wrestled with her decision. Every time she thought about attending the wedding, anxiety bubbled up within her. She would have to confront the man who had once been her everything, and had also been the source of her deepest pain. Emily recalled their tumultuous marriage, filled with passionate highs and devastating lows. They had loved fiercely, but also hurt each other deeply. Their breakup had left her shattered, but over the years, she had painstakingly rebuilt her life, piece by piece. Now, she was stable, with a fulfilling job, a cozy apartment, and a supportive circle of friends. As the wedding date approached, Emily weighed her options. She could skip the event and avoid the emotional turmoil of seeing Jack, but a part of her yearned for the chance to see him again, to gauge how much they both had changed, and perhaps to find some closure. After much contemplation, she decided to go. This wedding would be a test of her emotional strength, a way to prove to herself that she had moved on. Emily knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to face her past head-on. No matter how uncomfortable it might be, she RSVP'd yes, and began preparing herself mentally for the encounter. The day of the wedding arrived, and Emily found herself driving through scenic countryside to reach the picturesque venue. Nestled among rolling hills and blooming wildflowers, the location was as enchanting as Sarah had always dreamed. As Emily stepped out of her car, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. She had attended so many weddings with Jack, and now here she was, alone. Clad in a simple yet elegant dress, she took a deep breath and walked towards the gathering crowd. Familiar faces greeted her with warm smiles, and she exchanged pleasantries with old friends, feeling a mix of comfort and trepidation. As she made her way to her seat, she spotted Jack standing across the lawn, talking to a group of guests. Their eyes met briefly, and in that fleeting moment, a flurry of old emotions stirred within her. Jack looked much the same, perhaps a bit more mature, with a touch of gray at his temples. She quickly averted her gaze, focusing instead on the ceremony that was about to begin. Sarah, looking radiant in her wedding gown, walked down the aisle, and the beautiful ceremony unfolded, with heartfelt vows and loving glances. Despite the joyous occasion, Emily found herself distracted by the thought of Jack's presence. The memories of their past, dancing at the edges of her consciousness. With the ceremony concluded, the reception commenced in a beautifully decorated marquee. Guests mingled, the air filled with laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Emily wandered through the crowd, feeling a strange mix of belonging and isolation. As she approached the cocktail bar, she saw Jack making his way toward her. Her heart raced, but she managed a polite smile. "Hi, Emily," Jack greeted her, his voice carrying a hint of the familiarity they once shared. "It's good to see you." "Hi, Jack," Emily replied, her tone equally polite, but strained. They exchanged the usual pleasantries about their lives since the divorce, each trying to sound casual, while their minds raced with unspoken thoughts. Emily's friends soon pulled her away into lively conversations, but she couldn't shake the awareness of Jack's presence. Every time she glanced around the room, her eyes seemed to find him. As the evening wore on, and the dance floor opened up, Emily found herself standing on the sidelines, watching the couples sway to the music. Suddenly, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Jack standing there, his hand extended in invitation. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Emily hesitated, 1,000 thoughts running through her mind, but she eventually placed her hand in his. It was time to break the ice. Emily felt a rush of mixed emotions as she and Jack moved onto the dance floor. The band played a slow melodic tune, and they began to sway in unison. The initial awkwardness hung between them like a thick fog, but as they settled into the rhythm, the tension began to ease. "You look great, Emily," Jack said softly, his eyes searching hers for a reaction. "Thank you," she replied, offering a small smile. "You do too." They started with small talk about their lives since the divorce. Jack mentioned his new job, and how he had moved to a different city. Emily spoke about her career advancements, and the supportive friends she had made. As they danced, the familiarity of their movements brought back memories of happier times. Gradually, the conversation turned deeper, and they decided to step outside for some fresh air and privacy. Finding a quiet corner in the garden, Emily and Jack continued their conversation. They began to delve into the reasons behind their separation, discussing the misunderstandings and the mistakes they both had made. Emily spoke about the hurt she felt when Jack's career ambitions overshadowed their relationship, while Jack admitted to not realizing how much he had neglected her needs. The conversation was raw and honest, each revelation peeling back layers of old wounds. As the night deepened, the emotions between Emily and Jack became more intense. "I regret a lot of things," Jack confessed, his voice tinged with sorrow. "I was so focused on my career that I lost sight of what really mattered. I never intended to hurt you, but I see now how much I did." Emily felt tears welling up, but held them back, determined to stay composed. "I was hurt, Jack, deeply, but I've also had time to heal and reflect. I realize now that I had my own faults too. I depended on you for my happiness, instead of finding it within myself." They continued to share their feelings, each word helping to mend the fractures in their hearts. Emily talked about how she had changed over the years, learning to be more independent and self-reliant. Jack spoke about his own journey of self-discovery, and how he had learned to value relationships over ambitions. They began to see their past from each other's perspectives, understanding the pain they had caused, but also recognizing the love they once shared. Through this heartfelt dialogue, Emily and Jack started to acknowledge that their relationship, while flawed, had been an important chapter in their lives. They realized that their separation had been a catalyst for personal growth, pushing them to become better versions of themselves. This understanding brought a sense of peace and acceptance that had eluded them for years. As the night drew to a close, Emily and Jack reached a mutual understanding. They agreed that while their time together had been meaningful, they had both grown in different directions. "We had something special, Emily," Jack said, his voice gentle. "But I think we've both found our paths now. I'm glad we had this chance to talk." "Me too, Jack," Emily replied, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. "I think we both needed this closure." They shared a final dance, this time with a sense of peace and resolution. The music played softly in the background as they moved together, the tension and pain of the past melting away. It was a dance of forgiveness, of letting go, and of acknowledging that while their journey together had ended, it had shaped who they had become. Emily left the wedding feeling lighter, a sense of serenity replacing the turmoil that had lingered for so long. She hugged Sarah goodbye, thanking her for inviting her to the wedding. "You look happy, Emily," Sarah remarked, noticing the change in her friend's demeanor. "I think I am," Emily replied with a genuine smile. "I finally feel like I've closed that chapter." The next morning, Emily woke up with a sense of clarity and renewal. She reflected on the previous night's events, feeling a profound sense of peace. The conversation with Jack had been cathartic, allowing her to release the lingering pain and resentment she had harbored. Emily realized that she was ready to fully embrace her future, unburdened by the ghosts of her past. As she went about her day, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. She returned to her normal routine, with a fresh perspective, appreciating the stability and joy she had built in her life. The closure she had found at the wedding allowed her to move forward with confidence and hope. She looked forward to new beginnings, content with the understanding that she had gained from her past experiences. The story ends with Emily standing on the balcony of her apartment, gazing out at the city skyline. She smiles, feeling a sense of fulfillment and readiness for whatever the future might hold. The chapter with Jack was finally closed, and she was prepared to write new chapters in her life, filled with hope, growth, and the promise of new adventures. Thank you for being a part of Narrative Stories. Your support and engagement mean the world to us. We are committed to bringing you the best in storytelling. What kinds of stories would you like to see next? Share your thoughts in the comments below.